Friends, what is happening? Greg Newmaster coming at you again with another action figure review. I was at Walmart today, and sure enough, they actually had action figures in stock. I don't know about you guys, but where I live in Pittsburgh, like if you go to Walmart or Target, most of the time that you go to the store, unless you're really lucky, you're not going to find any good action figures. The shelves are going to be bare. I just must have had good timing today. Uh, my wife and I were out and about, and sure enough, the Masters of the Universe display was up in Walmart, and there were tons of figures. They had He-Man, Skeletor, Tila, Evelyn. I was just excited. So, I wasn't really going to do the Origins line. There's just too many things to collect right now, but I saw He-Man, and the nostalgia bug got me. It was only $15, so not a big deal by today's standards. Where back in the 80s, it probably would have been $5, but $15. So I was like, I'm gonna pick this guy up and give him a review because for most people, I mean, Masters of the Universe is what started it all in the history of action figures. I mean, you have G.I. Joe, which truly started it all. And then there was the Mego figures in the 70s. I wasn't alive yet, but I did have Mego figures where it was, Superman and the Marvel figures. And they were sort of dolls with clothes, and that was cool for the time. But then in the 80s, besides Star Wars and the 3.75 original figures, there was Masters of the Universe. So Masters of the Universe is pretty much what started it all. And the funny thing is, Masters of the Universe was a toy line before it was a cartoon, which is crazy. So it was like the toy line fed the cartoon and vice versa. And then the cartoon was meant to really just sell more diverse action figures. Anytime there was a new character on the show, a new toy came out. But yeah, He-Man is what started it all. He-Man was the first for most kids. Oh, I forgot. Or no, I said G.I. Joe. But anyhow, He-Man's what started it all. So, they started doing, Mattel started doing this retro line. And we're gonna get a Castle Grayskull, which I'm actually excited about because it's not that expensive, and from the pictures I've seen, it looks like the old school Castle Grayskull, and I've never owned a Castle Grayskull, so I think I'm gonna get that. But I already have the Origins Battle Cat, which I did a review on, which I love. It's a great figure. So here's He-Man, and this card is really long, which is surprising to me. I don't remember what the cards were like on the original figures. That's 11 inches right there, how long that card is. So it's a really long card, but it looks great. Modern posing and retro play. So I think that's exciting. So what they did was, with the original sculpt of the figures, I unfortunately don't have any of my original He-Man figures because they just did not survive the test of time. Either like their heads rotted because they used to be that soft rubber plastic, or hands got chewed off because, little kids like to chew stuff. So I don't have any anymore, but from what I remember, I mean, this body mold is just the way that it used to be, minus the articulation. And of course, we have a different head on there, which I'm not really digging. I don't like this head sculpt. I believe there's a second head in there that looks like the original head, but we'll get to that. But the card looks great. We got the original Masters of the Universe logo, which is awesome. He-Man, most powerful man in the universe. Look at that great artwork on the back. So that's newer artwork. Looks really good. It says, with a mystical power sword, the mighty He-Man protects Eternia from the forces of evil. And then it also says, modernizing and celebrating the original 80s Masters of the Universe action figures, Masters of the Universe Origins gives you the power to pose Eternia's greatest warriors as retro-style figures, or in new action-packed battle positions. And that's really the big selling point of these figures is articulation. Because back in the day, if I remember correctly, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of articulation. I don't even think it had any torso twist. No, they had twist in the torso, so maybe 6 points of articulation. Like these days, they do it right. We got articulation in the elbows, we got articulation in the hips and the knees and the ankles and the wrists, and then in the neck with rotation on a ball joint. So they're just doing it right these days, and it's very exciting. But yeah, when I was at Walmart today, they had these 4 figures. They didn't have Men at Arms and they didn't have Beastman, I'm sorry. So, but yeah, if you guys want to get into He-Man right now, I mean, this would be a really good way to start collecting, especially if you're younger, because the Masters of the Universe Classics figures, which are fantastic, are so freaking expensive and so hard to come by on the aftermarket. You know, I think like any Masters of the Universe Classics new figure, like if you want to get it on eBay, you're going to pay at least $100. And if you want a good figure, you're going to pay $200 to like $250. So, you know, if you want to start collecting He-Man, I would suggest doing it with these figures because they look awesome. All right, so let's bust this baby open. Also, the card, from what I remember, it looks like the original card. So like how they came, like in this pattern here, the shape, and this is glued on. It looks like they got the mini comic in there like they used to. So let's get this guy open and give him a look. Yeah, so like if this was a Classics figure, I would not be tearing this open like this because especially the Super 7 and the Mattel version, I mean, they're collector's items. So, yeah, this is giving me all the feels right now because it's very reminiscent of the original figure in my mind. So check this out. This is great. You get this mini comic. Looks like some new artwork. Beast Barrage. Yeah, look at that. You guys get a good look at that. So that's awesome. They give you the mini comics. That's really wonderful. Nice touch. Appreciate that. Very retro. Mattel. And let's get He-Man out here. And, you know, there's already things that I like about this. There's things about this that I like better than the Masters of the Universe Classics. For instance, the wrist actually has a hinge in it, where the Super 7 and the Mattel version of Masters of the Universe Classics does not have a hinge, which is just good for posing. And He-Man always has a sword. So do most of the other figures. So, yeah, this sculpt looks great. Like, this sculpt looks fantastic. There's a nice little sheath there. His harness. That's interesting how his harness comes off, because I don't think the original He-Man's harness was designed this way, and it didn't come off this way. So that's cool. Well, let's get a look at this articulation. So let me see here. Okay, so I thought there was an alternate head that came with this figure, but because I had seen it in pictures, but there isn't. So this is the only head that comes with this figure. And I gotta say, I don't like it. I don't like this head at all. If you're gonna do a retro figure, Mattel, you should have done the classic He-Man head sculpt that came on the original figure. So they gave him like a page boy haircut here, where the original figure had more of a, I don't know, like a stylized 70s look. So here is my Masters of the Universe Classics He-Man. And this is the alternate head sculpt that it came with. This is the ultimate version. So this is more like what the original action figure looked like with more detail. Obviously, this figure is awesome. This figure is one of my all-time favorite action figures. But so in this new figure, you got this new hairstyle, which I'm not a fan of. It's that's a hard plastic, by the way. This isn't soft. So the original He-Man action figures had a real soft, mushy head. So this is a hard plastic. It just looks non-detailed. It looks very cartoonish. Kind of cheap, honestly. But it's not cheap. I mean, this is a hard plastic. So that's an upgrade compared to the original figures. This is a really solid head, solid hair. There's just no paint detail. It's very cartoony. So, I mean, if you're into the Funimation style, did I say that right? I think that, or the Hanna-Barbera style of animation, that's what this looks like to me. But it does look like the original figures, which is great. I mean, this thing is just full of articulation. So shoulder joints go up that high. We got full rotation. It's cut on an angle here, so when his hands go up, they can come above his head. You know, he has tiny little hands. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of actually proportionate to real life. You know, when bodybuilders get on roids and they're just so roided out, like their hands just look real tiny. So that's kind of how this He-Man is. But that's great. And no torso articulation. We only have rotation in the hips, so he has no crunch, which is kind of a bummer. So, you know, because if you're going to go all the way with the articulation, you should, put some torso articulation in there, but that's fine. We got great elbow articulate. Oh, my elbow is stuck. Ooh, thought that was going to snap there. So it's limited, though. So he can't even go over 90 degrees. I don't even think he can get to 90 degrees. His guns are just so big. Like that bicep is so big. But we have no cut in the shoulder. It's at the elbow. So we got rotation there. What else? Yeah, see, my joints are stuck here. So be mindful that if you purchase this figure that you're going to have stuck joints. So I may want to get it, but just be careful. You'll snap it off. I've had that happen so many times in my life with figures. Head, we got minimal movement, but he goes down, goes up about that far. That's not too bad. I can't tell. Yeah, so that is on a ball joint. So let's switch out the heads for a moment. So I'm going to switch the Masters of the Universe Classics Ultimate He-Man head with the new figure. Let's see if I can get that on. Nah, the ball joint is a little bit too big for this head. I'm afraid I'll snap it. But anyhow, all right. So we'll put the regular head back on. So I couldn't get that on. But anyhow, what else? We got hip articulation. That's excellent. Really nice there. Leg can kick up about that high. Not much forward movement. Can go backwards a little bit. The knee articulation. Yeah, just the way that the sculpt of the figure is, like you don't have too much movement, but you have more than you did with the originals. Well, we actually have pivot in the ankles, which that is another plus on this figure compared to the Masters of the Universe Classics. There was no pivot in the ankle before. There's a hinge on the ankle, up and down. And what else did I not go over? Oh, we have boot cut, so you can turn the feet that way. Got a full rotation. So there we go. So, that's one of the selling points besides the retro look is just tons of articulation. So that's He-Man for you. And let's see what his accessories are. Come in this little plastic baggie. So what do we get here? All right. Oh, so that's kind of disappointing. So, first of all, I don't like this sculpt of the sword, the power sword. This is not the traditional look of the power sword. This is the power sword that is in the comics. And it's also the half sword, which I love that concept, but I think with the original figures, you got a full sword and you got a half sword. And the half sword, which is great, is Skeletor has the other half. And when you put the two halves of the sword together, you get a full power sword, and that is able to unlock Castle Grayskull. But this is cheap, man. This is really cheap. Like, they should have given you a full power sword. Because I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, anybody, that with the original figures, you got a full power sword. So this is really stupid because also you get this like little blocking bar here, which I don't like. And it's actually backwards. So when I put the power sword in his hand, it should go the other way. It should go like this. I don't know. I feel like he should hold the sword like that. But anyhow, so that's disappointing. That's real cheap in my opinion. And then we get the shield. The shield looks really good. I like it. I don't know if I'm a fan of... Like, so they went the extra measure and gave him this handle to hold. So it clips on to the wrist. It doesn't clip on... Clips on. Yeah, it clips on pretty good. So you put it through like that, and then it clips on. So then you have the shield, and like so. So that's pretty good. I don't know. Once again, this is real cheap. I guess I'm spoiled because of the Masters of the Universe Classics, the level of quality that has. Here's the battle axe. No paint, just like the old school. Just came out of the machine and they just like cut it out. Like there's a, where they cut the shape out and that's how you get it. No paint, no nothing. But anyhow, you put that in the back there, which is old school. It's like, the funny thing about the toys is they give He-Man all these extra weapons. Like they give him the battle axe and the shield, but He-Man never needed any of that other stuff. Like, he always just had the Sword of Power, and that's essentially all he needed. But yeah, so I'm disappointed about the cheapness of the Power Sword. It's like, this is his main weapon. This is the most important weapon. I'm disappointed about the sculpt of the Power Sword, because it's not the traditional Power Sword. Oh yeah, so I didn't do a comparison. So here's the Masters of the Universe Classics Power Sword. And this one's actually painted, where in the show, it's always like a solid color. But yeah, so it just has the hilt, like these little ends here stick out, where on the show, it's always together like this. So, I'm a purist, so I like this design better. With the Ultimate He-Man, they gave you this, they gave you the classic version of the sword, they gave you this version of the sword, and they also gave you a half sword. So, I mean, this looks so cheap, I don't see why they couldn't have given us the extra weapon. So that's just kind of a disappointment, but what are you going to do? Let's see how it fits in the sheath back here. Yeah, it fits in there nice. Nice and snug. So anyhow, yeah, so for nostalgia's sake, Masters of the Universe Classics, if you want to start, or Masters of the Universe Origins, if you want to start collecting, I highly recommend it. If you missed out on the Classics line, here's He-Man on Battle Cat. This is Battle Cat's the first figure I actually bought because I missed out on the Masters of the Universe Classics Battle Cat. And this is so similar. They're the same size, and he just has less articulation than the other Battle Cat. And the other Battle Cat has a darker red and more detail on his armor. But anyhow, if you want to start collecting He-Man, this is a good line to do it with. Hopefully they'll come out with better He-Man figures with an alternate head sculpt and a better power sword. But overall, for the price, you can't beat it. And if you're just a Masters of the Universe fan, I recommend it. So if you like the video, please like and subscribe. God bless you all. Peace.